If you're a professional beast for a full-time living like me, then you also dislike sissy fragrances that don't perform. Let's steer you clear from them. Class is in session. Popular fragrances that do not perform that you need to be warned about. This video is not going to say that these fragrances are necessarily bad. I'm emphasizing here now, guys, these fragrances are not bad, but some of us don't like fragrances that you need to overspray, which ends up making them more expensive than you initially thought, or fragrances that you have to reapply throughout the day. These are both annoying things. I know a lot of men out there like a good performing fragrance. Most of these are going to be designer, but some are niche that are not going to perform well enough for the price you are paying, in my opinion. Let's get into it. When talking about popular fragrances that don't perform, of course the first one that comes to anyone's mind is CK1. However, Jeremy Fragrance ended up hyping CK1 Shock as this very nice beginner tobacco scent. And fair enough, it is a good beginner tobacco scent, but I would say just go for DNG the One EDP, which we'll also be discussing in this video. But CK1 Shock is very smooth, very easy to like. It's not a harsh tobacco, but you have to really overspray. You're not going to get more than 4 hours, maybe even 3 hours on your skin. So bear that in mind when you buy the fragrance. And of course, another frosted glass summer fragrance is Aqua di Gio. It has the best opening of the Aqua di Gio line. It goes straight to that smooth aquatic citrus that the other flankers do not go to initially, but it's the worst performing easily. When Perry Ellis Red 360 exists, Aqua di Gio Perfume still exists, it's not discontinued, then I don't really see the point of paying for the original Aqua di Gio. Of course, Perry Ellis's presentation may not be as appealing as other fragrances. Sticking to the theme of summer fragrances, yes, I appreciate most of us aren't going to expect beast performance from these types of fragrances, but at the end of the day, if you're going to get a weak fragrance, you can pay £40 for something like Mugler Cologne, which focuses on neroli, instead of something like Tom Ford's Neroli Portofino, which is the next fragrance on this list. Over $200 for 50 mils for a fragrance that doesn't last more than 4 hours. Don't get me wrong, it is beautiful, but bear in mind you may go bankrupt if you have to buy this fragrance repeatedly and overspray each time. It's very natural, it's all top notes, neroli, citrus. It's not gonna last that long, but it does smell very natural. Moving away from the summer theme, let's go to Armani Code, the original. A beast mode fragrance when it first came out in the early 2000s. It's been reformulated. It now lasts about 4 to 6 hours. I still think it's sexy, but for a spicy oriental fragrance, or it's kind of a spicy aromatic as well, it's very well balanced. I still think it doesn't perform as well as one would hope, especially when you smell it initially. And also the fact Armani Code EDP, which sort of resurrects the original's DNA, is now available, and it makes it a lot more longer lasting. Over 8 hours is what I get with the Eau de Parfum. So in my opinion, don't get the original code, get the EDP. Of course, I was going to come back to DNG the One. The EDT doesn't perform that great. The EDP is a little bit better, about 5 hours. The One Grey doesn't perform well at all, maybe 3 to 4 hours. And then you think the One EDP Intense, you know, the name suggests it's going to perform now. It doesn't really perform either. It's still about 5 to 6 hours. So this line, it smells natural, balanced, warm, balsamic, but do not expect great performance from really most of the flankers. Maybe the Royal Night or the Oud selection of the Arabic writing might perform better. I haven't smelled any of them. Anyone in the comments, educate us please. Ralph Lauren Polo fragrances perform poorly in general as well. The original blue and the original red are both poor performers, so make sure you're at least getting the EDP or the Extreme, whatever flankers they have, if you want better performance. And even with the EDPs of some of these fragrances, you're still not going to get more than 6 hours. So bear that in mind, because these are expensive scents. YSL has been guilty of poor performance as well from reformulated fragrances. You do not need to buy the original La Nuit de l'Homme anymore, in my opinion. Get Blue Electrique. If you're in the UK, go to a website called My Origine. That's where I got it from. I was a bit scared as well when I first saw it, but the website is legit and I can vouch for them. The original L'Homme from YSL as well was a masterpiece, but also reformulated, maybe 5 hours longevity. There is L'Homme L'Intense, but I don't recommend it personally. I thought it was a bit too synthetic for what it was. It does perform better, but I still would opt for the original. And I have to do it. I have to bring up the modern batches of Creed Aventus. For me, I used to get good performance from the older batches, maybe 8 to 10 hours, magical fragrance. Nowadays, the scent isn't quite as good, and also the longevity now is about 6 hours, which is very disappointing for how expensive it is. Creed in general has a few culprits like this. Aventus, Himalaya, and Virgin Island Water, overpriced for what they are and their lackluster performance. If we're sticking to the theme of Aventus, if you're disappointed by its longevity, yes, you could go for a more affordable option with Mont Blanc Explorer. It's not a bad fragrance. Again, it's not a bad fragrance, but if you're a guy looking for something beast mode, this is not the fragrance for you. 6 hours with a soft projection is what I personally get. Yes, you could overspray with it, it is cheap, but really if you want longevity, just go for a bottle of Club de Nuit Intense Matte EDP, 12 hours easily, and it's a similar price mil for mil. Again, another popular brand, Bulgari. Man in Black lasts a long time, but if you go for something called Bulgari's Man Extreme, which would suggest, again, a good performing fragrance, some people might be tricked by that. Do not expect a good performing fragrance. It's a very nice, beautiful citrus and cactus fragrance. It's got a unique cactus accord in there, but again, it's going to be a summer light fragrance that maybe lasts about 4 to 6 hours, so don't be fooled by that. Let's go to Chanel. Most people go for the Allure Homme Sport or Eau Extreme in that line, but a lot of people have forgotten about the original Allure Homme, and that's probably because of its poor performance. It's been reformulated. You're not going to get more than 4 hours for a Chanel price tag fragrance. A little bit better is Allure Homme Edition Blanche. If you're a guy looking for something beast mode, this is not it for you. It's one of my favorite fragrances. I generally recommend it to everyone, but it is not beast mode. 4 to 6 hours, I still think it's worth it, and for how light and citrusy it is, I think it's just about gets away with it. Back to the cheapies, Burberry London. A very nice, fresh, spicy fragrance that doesn't go into the sweet side like a lot of spicy scents do. It's very well balanced. A lot of people say it reminds them of Christmas time. I think, yeah, fine. If you don't mind overspraying it and you use it occasionally, it's fine. But again, you really have to go heavy on the trigger with Burberry London. For me, I ended up just giving it away. If I want a spicy, cozy Christmas time fragrance, I just go for Spice Bomb Extreme, which is definitely not lacking in performance. Then we'll finish off with 2 brand new releases. First of all, a lot of people on TikTok and in the YouTube comments asked me about Valentino's Born in Roma Yellow Dream. Yes, that is a nice fragrance. If you go to the department store, that would be a fragrance you'd be very much convinced to pick up, but it does not perform. I don't get more than 4 hours on my skin with that fragrance. It's sort of like Hugo Boss Bottled Unlimited had a baby with Paco Rabanne's Invictus. It's pineapple, musk, bubblegum all mixed together. A lot of people say it gets them a lot of compliments, and I can see why it would. It is very sexy. I think that the scent is beautiful, but again, the performance is its main drawback. And finally, I thought Prada would get away from this video. In fairness to them, basically all their fragrances perform decently. Even L'Homme Low doesn't perform too badly for what it is. But then we have Prada Luna Rossa Ocean. The rest of the Luna Rossa line performs great, but this is their one fragrance which, although it smells sexy, a little bit unique with the new musk molecules that you don't really smell that often in the designer game, with a little bit of sweetness in there, nicely balanced. It only lasts about 4 to 6 hours, so bear that in mind. You're not going to get the excellent performance you get from something like Prada Luna Rossa Carbon, which lasts over 8 hours. I hope this video helped you out, guys. Remember, not all milliliters or ounces are born equal. The performance will greatly vary a fragrance's price. 30 mils of Black Afghano is probably something you'll take longer to get through than 200 mils of Versace Pour Homme. If you guys have any other suggestions of popular fragrances people should be warned about that did not perform, make sure to educate us in the comments down below. Make sure to check out our other videos as well in the meantime, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Class dismissed.